Okay, is this better? Cool. Okay, well, welcome to our 7 Steps to Homeownership event named The Perks of Buying. So we kind of boil down the entire home purchasing process into 7 fairly easy steps for a lot of first-time home buyers and even repeat buyers to just at a glance know, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and how to best be prepared to purchase a home. So, first of all, welcome to our team. So we are the LS Real Estate Group. I am Tony. So I'm usually in charge of business development, relocations, investors, and other, let's say, larger relationships. I still obviously do first-time home buying sales, resales, and so on. Natasha is our first-time home buyer expert. She's also a specialist in new to Canada, relocations, and listings as well. And finally, Stephen, who is today manning the audio, is our lead buyer's agent who also focuses on new to Canada buyers and first-time home buyers. So, why buy now in Newfoundland? So, as you probably know, the market in St. John's and in Newfoundland in general has been fairly hot over the past few years. But compared to the rest of Canada, it's actually still ridiculously cheap. So the average home price in Metro now is around $415,000. The average home price in Canada was still $792,000. So we are seeing a surge in people moving here, and the home prices are slowly ticking upwards, but overall they're still very, very competitive compared to the rest of the country, especially when you stack it against amenities and services that you have in St. John's. Owning versus renting, always the biggest question. I want to rent because I want to be flexible. I want to be able to move around. The biggest problem with renting is in the course of 4 years, you pay something, let's say $30,000, $40,000 that you see zero return back on. If you own a home, yes, you have a little bit more of a foundation somewhere and some ties. However, nobody says that you can't rent your home out if you wanted to move around. And whatever you do when you are a homeowner, you build up equity. So in this case, you bought a house in 2020, 5 years ago, for $400,000. It would now be worth 500 to 550. So that's 150,000 or 100 to $150,000 in equity gain alone without you needing to do anything at all. Affordability, we've already kind of covered that. You know, Newfoundland now is up and coming with flights to various European destinations, more and more connectivity and more services and amenities coming to the province. And also, the provincial government has a first-time homebuyers program. So that was rolled out over the past few years, and I figure some of you guys here are familiar with it. It provides incentives such as down payment assistance and funding and other elements that Andrew will touch on later on. So now let's move into the 7 steps to homeownership. So there's a nice little picture of all the clients some of the clients that we've helped this year. So steps 1 and 2 are combined together. And that is, I guess, the most crucial one, which is your budget and your pre-approval, right? You're going to buy a home. You obviously need to know how much you can afford and also make sure that the bank is cool with you as well. So the budgeting basics is take a look at your income, take a look at your expenses, your savings, figure out where a good point is for you to start regarding your home, right? The biggest question that we get now is, what is my mortgage going to be? Because, you go from renting to home owning, it's going to be more expensive. The question is by how much and how much wiggle room you guys have, right? Getting pre-approved is also crucial in this market. In St. John's over the past 4 years, we've been dealing with multiple offers, a very competitive market. Without a pre-approval, they most likely won't look at you. And the pre-approval also helps you fast track your agreement once you send it and you get an accepted offer. Common misconceptions. So one of the major ones for us is the 20% down. You don't need 20% down to buy a home. 5% is the minimum. And with programs such as the first-time homebuyers program, you can actually get assistance to secure that 5%. Another big misconception is that you cannot buy a home on a work permit. You absolutely can. However, you can only buy one. You can't buy two. You can't own multiple. You can buy one, sell that, buy another one. but on a work permit, you can only own one. Once you become a PR, then it opens up and you can do, similar things to just a regular citizen. Obviously, a regular citizen is the same thing. So, step number 3, the search. So once you have your budget, once you have your pre-approval, now comes the time to figure out what you want. So your needs and your wants are 2 good examples that everybody uses. The needs is the bare bones, the minimum. Absolutely cannot do without. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Do you absolutely need a garage? Sure. But usually those end up being in wants, right? And the wants then are the non-essential things, such as a garage or, a jacuzzi or a spa. That is some people's wants, believe it or not. So create a wish list once you have your must-haves and your needs, or your needs and your wants, and also look at the areas. Something that we do with a lot of people, whether or not they are from the province, is to go through each neighborhood, go through each zone of the city. Say, this is what you can get in CBS. This is what you can get in Portugal Cove. This is St. John's, east versus west, Southlands, Gould's, Kenmount Terrace. We kind of cover it all so that you kind of know what each area is, what you get where, and there will be fluctuations in price differences between these spots. So it's just good to know going around, right? And stay open-minded. So that's also a very important one. When we go into this, sometimes we can have very, very big, long lists of specific things that we want. It's good to stay a little bit open, right? And just say, okay, well, I need a minimum of 4 bedrooms. We might find a house that has 3 with a room that could actually easily be converted to a 4th bedroom, right? And so on and so forth. Same thing with zones, areas, neighborhoods. It's good to not stay too locked into one and be open to kind of going around it, right? So step number 4 and 5. So once we get to this step, usually you're about 1 to 2 months in from the moment you decide, okay, let's buy a house, to the moment we get to the offer stage and negotiation. A month of searching for homes gives a lot of breadth to what we see, and enables you guys to kind of make up your mind and say, okay, well, now I know these areas, now I know what to do. Obviously, you might put an offer in on the first house we view, which is completely cool, but usually, yeah, it's about 1 to 2 months. So once we get to the offer and condition stage, that's where our work is always ongoing, but that's where we really step in now and take control of it, where we will write the offer up for you. We will help you with the terms of the agreement. We will tell you how to structure it, what will strengthen it, what will not. And we will also always make sure that your interests come first, that you're protected, that you're good to go. There's nothing wrong there. Once we get to the offer stage, like I said, we will be usually in multiple offers. So there's a thing in the market now called the seller's directive, where once a house hits the market, it has anywhere from 3 to 7 days of viewings before there's a certain date and time set to present the offers. That is good and bad depending on who you ask, but ultimately it gives everybody a chance to go in and view the spot, and it gives everybody a chance to put an offer in on the home. Inspection essentials. So we will never recommend not getting an inspection. And if someone does, then you should run away, because there is no person that should say, I recommend not getting an inspection here. It puts your interest last, and if something hits the fan, you have no recourse. So what we will do is we'll say, if you are considering not getting an inspection, we'll give you the pros and the cons. The pros being you're strengthening your offer. The cons being, if there is an issue that we don't pick up on, you're liable. And I will say too, home inspection strengthens your offer by a bit, not by a huge amount. So if you're competing with 10 other people, your offer you might have about $10,000 to $15,000 of wiggle room with an inspection. So if you're going 50 to 60 over, there's no point going and asking with no inspection, because they're not going to accept it. And again, I've already covered this, is protecting yourself. So everything that we do is for the clients and to make sure that you're protected in this house. It's a huge investment, and we don't want anybody to get burnt. And we will come out and we will say, maybe we recommend doing this or that. It's not so much cutting safeguards for you guys. It's just more fine tuning the deal to make it more appealing, right? Such as like a survey, for example. We would recommend sometimes you guys paying for the survey in full, which is $600 more versus splitting it half and half. No risk to you, but it's a little tweak that could work, right? Now, 6 and 7. So once we get to the accepted offer in a timeline manner, you're looking at about a month. Accepted offer, 4 weeks, and then you have closing. The first 2 weeks, finance and home inspection. So that's where we would send the documents to your mortgage brokers and we would book the home inspection, or you book your own home inspection if you want to. And that would be the deadline for that to happen. Once that is done, we are considered firm. So conditions have been met, and the last 2 weeks go to legal and closing. So we always recommend getting a lawyer involved as soon as you get an accepted offer, because Newfoundland, unlike some other provinces, doesn't have a digitized archive. So they still actually have people walking around in a big dark room, climbing up stairs and ladders to access documents in boxes, which is incredible. So that can take 3 to 4 weeks. And that's the only reason actually that it's a month-long closing versus places like Alberta or Ontario where you can buy a house in a week. So because of that, we always queue the lawyer, but we also make sure that the lawyer only really starts their work and the billing once conditions are met. So that's an additional cost to your purchase that we will cover with you, but it is something that you should be aware of, and it will also depend on the price of the home. So if you buy a $400,000 house, on average, you're looking at about 1.5% to 2% of the price in closing fees for legal costs. It's not linear, so it is a little bit iffy. Where if it's a $600,000 house, it might be $7,000 or $8,000. So we try and use 1.5% to 2%, but it can obviously change. Make sure you have your paperwork. And this is also not just for the legal, but for the pre-approval stage. They will ask you for a lot of information. Make sure you have it all. Andrew's going to cover what you guys need for the finance, but for the legal, it's a lot of the same stuff and a lot of the paperwork that you should have handy anyways. And then finally, once closing costs are done, we will be there throughout the whole thing, making sure, everything's ticking smoothly. If there's home inspection items, this is also the period where they have to repair the thing. So that's what we check in on, make sure everything is going to plan. And if everything goes well, we will come to closing day. And closing day is obviously the day that you get your keys in hand. So it's the big day. On that day, we go and do a final walkthrough. So we make sure the house is the way it was when we first viewed it. And then after that, we let the lawyers do their things during the day. And if everything goes well, at 5 p.m., we meet at the house with your keys and you get a nice little picture forever. And that is it for the 7 steps. So pretty simple. Obviously, we can delve into every single step in way more detail, but the purpose of this is to give an overview of essentially everything, every step in the process in a bite size so you don't get overwhelmed. And there are a few things that we do recommend avoiding. So the pitfalls, the first one being the pre-approval. We have had people skip pre-approvals and they're very nice people, but in the grand scheme, you need a pre-approval because the person on the other side might not trust you, right? And it also gives you an idea of, again, what you can afford, what you're comfortable with, and it gives an opportunity to ask questions to people that know what they're doing. The other one is the additional costs. So this is a big one where when I bought my house for the first time, nobody told me about this. And then I was scrambling because it was crazy. Additional costs, home inspection, closing fees. And even when you're calculating, let's say, you have a budget, but your monthly, you have a budget for a home, but you're actually looking at a monthly budget. You don't want to spend more than $2,000. You need to factor in home insurance, property taxes, these kinds of costs that when you're renting, you don't really know about. So it's important to really look into these things and get the holistic idea of, okay, this is actually how much I'm going to be paying every month, right? And rushing the decision. So especially in this market, every house is on the market for 3 to 5 days. We only have usually 30 minutes to view it. So you're making, anywhere from a quarter to a half to $750,000 decision based on a 30-minute interaction. So it is important not to rush things. And I would say, even when I finish a viewing with clients, they'll say, "Oh, we love it. We want to do it." And I will just say, "Stop. We have time. Sleep on it. I'll send you documentation. We'll chat about it tomorrow, and we'll figure it out from there." Right? Don't rush any decision in this process. Obviously, don't dwell on things too long, but don't rush into things either. And it's the same thing with buying a house, right? Don't rush into buying it. Be ready. Be curious, but don't rush, right? And that's it. And now I will welcome Andrew Leonard to the stage.
Great.
Andrew, you're up.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. So yeah, so I guess we want to ask yourself a question, or you might even be asking yourself the question is, what do lenders want? What do they want from me? What are they looking for? How hard is it to get a mortgage? And so I guess we'll start. There's a couple things you really need to consider is when you're going to somebody who doesn't know you and and you were asking, hey, lend me $400,000. Well, they've never met you. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. So how do they make a decision on you and giving you that money without ever meeting you, without sitting down, without coming over to your house? And then how difficult is that? How difficult? Is it really easy to get a mortgage? Is it really hard to get a mortgage? So these are probably some questions you might be thinking. And so I guess there's a couple questions. So lenders have two questions. And the two questions are, number one, can you afford? What can you afford? And then two is, will you pay us back? So the essence of it is that's the real two questions. Can you afford to pay us? Okay, you can afford up to a $400,000 mortgage based on your calculations or formulas and your amounts. Okay, yes. Now, okay, you can afford to pay us, but will you pay us? So, will you pay us? Well, how do we answer that question? That question gets answered by looking at your previous history, looking at your credit bureau. What have you done? You've borrowed money from people before. Have you paid them back? Have you paid them back on time? Have you missed payments? Have you skipped payments? Have you defaulted on your loans? So they've got to make a decision to give you a large sum of money based on your past history. That's all they have. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple things. So to answer those questions, there's really four key components. One of those components is going to be your income and employment. So can you pay us back? Can you afford to pay us back? So they're going to look at your income in a couple different ways. So first of all, you're going to have guaranteed hours either way. So you're going to have full-time hours. So your employer says they give you 40 hours a week at $21 an hour every week, and it's guaranteed. And then what the lender's going to do is they're going to take that letter, your employment letter, and they're going to look at your pay stub. They're going to do a bit of math. They're going to calculate it out. Have you made that money? Are you on track to making that money? Is this letter correct? And you're getting guaranteed hours. So that's one way where they can look at employment. Another way is part-time. So part-time is obviously part-time, you're doing 20 hours a week. So is your part-time guaranteed or is it variable? So guaranteed being every week your employer gives you minimum 20 hours. They tell you that on your letter. And then when they go and they check and they call your employer and they take a look, yep, you're getting a minimum of 20 hours. But if you're not getting that in either the full-time employment or the part-time, you're now on what's called a variable type of income. You don't have solid income. So now the lender says, well, what income can we rely on? We can't rely on 40 hours a week or 20 hours a week because you're not getting that. So then they'll say, okay, if your hours are variable, then we're going to have to look at your income over a 2-year average. So what did you make last year? What did you make this year? Okay, we divide that out, put them together, divide them by 2. Well, this is now your income. We can have assurance that you're going to have this much income, and we're going to calculate this much income towards your mortgage. So that's another one. Self-employment, contract, term. So these also are a 2-year history. Self-employment is very risky. 50% of businesses or more fail in the first couple of years. So you can get a mortgage as a self-employed person, but you're going to need a 2-year history for that. Then there's other things that people don't think about is like what else can be income. So like we have here is child tax benefits from the government. So we can add that to your income to increase your pre-approval amount. Any child support, spousal support, that's guaranteed income. And then you have things like pensions, old age security, Canada pension, work pensions, even disability. If somebody was on disability, we can use that income. It's from the federal government, it's guaranteed income. We can use that as well. So that's one component. So we've kind of looked a little bit of income. What does it need? The next part is what we talked about, the will you pay us back? So they're looking for things like how long? How long have you had credit cards? How long have you had leases and loans? And each month, did you pay them back? Because on your credit bureau, you've got ones, twos, threes, fours, all the way up to number 9. 1 means you've been paying it every month. 2 means you've been 60 days late. 3, 90. So they're looking for that. Are they on time? And really, that really ties into your credit score. That's what's really making your credit score going up and down, as well as it's called your utilization, which is if you have $1,000 credit card, you want to keep it about $300 or lower, because as you start going over that amount and carrying high balances, your score gets to be pulled back because you've got all these credit cards, but you've got them all racked up. The absolutely most important thing in the world you can do is make sure you make the minimum payment every month, even if you can't pay them off. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'll rack it up, and then in 3 months, I'll just pay it off. And that's going to be great. It's totally false. You absolutely have to every month pay your minimum payment. And if you can keep the balances down, that will help your credit score increase. And then obviously bankruptcies, judgments, collections, those things are really going to hurt your credit score. As well as sometimes people don't always realize is inquiries. So, you're applying for a credit card over here, a lease over there, another credit card, a loan, and maybe you're getting them, maybe you're not. It starts to gather a list, and the list in your credit bureau is kind of kept for 2 years, and you'll see like multiple inquiries. So when lenders see that you're looking for credit all over the place, it starts to get them nervous and hesitant. Well, why is this person trying to get credit everywhere? And they can see that maybe you did or didn't get it. So if others aren't giving you credit, then maybe we don't want to give you credit. So something to keep in mind of. And while we talk about that, one of the most important things as you're going for a mortgage is not to go out and get a new car lease or a loan, or take on a bunch of new credit. You can wait. So you're going to get a house, you wait, you get your house, then you can go out and get a new car, lease, or loan. You'll be able to get, a car dealership's more willing to give you a lease or a loan and let you extend past your credit limits than purchasing a house. So those are some important things about those two. And I want to bring up Vishnu, who's an upcoming agent who is really diligent in his work. And he's going to talk about the down payment and a couple other things that are important for you guys to know.
So as you talk about the income and the credit history, right? So now I'm gonna cover about the down payment, how it's gonna be a work. So you guys have a question. Yes, I have money, but from where? From which side? Where I can use those money as a down payment. So there are a couple of things that you have to take care about that from down payment. So as you can see, for down payment, you guys have a saving in your bank account, but if it is coming from like directly, like for example, I'm taking my side, so I have bank account, but I have money in my bank in recent 15 days. So from where those money comes, we need proof of that. Like someone gave you $30,000 suddenly in your bank account, but you're not using that as a down payment just because of this is not your money. So you need a proof to show us those money come from your family or from some friends, or how you're gonna use that. Another thing is that you can use first time home buyer saving account. That is, you can use. Another is like RRSP. Then you can get a gift from your family member or somewhere else also, right? So those are the things that you can use your down payment. And some people have like good credit history. Some people have like good job, but sometimes they are new in Canada. but they want a house, right, in a rush, but they don't have money to put as a down payment. So we also have a government, so they can give you a money for your down payment, minimum 5%, as Tony and Rolier said, like, is it like as incentives, right? So you can use those money also as a down payment. You just need to pay back them in 20 years of amortization period. Now we'll go with the documents. So when you go with the realtors, then they will ask you a question. You guys have a pre-approval? Then you said, what is a pre-approval? Why I need that? Then you can go with one thing. You can talk with them why you need pre-approval. Then they're gonna say you need a pre-approval so you can have like buying power more in this market, because the market is so competitive, right? And then they will give you a contact of mortgage brokers, or you can go at bank also. But I would say that go with the mortgage brokers, because they have a different lenders, and they have like more different products than the banks you're gonna get from that. So when you come with us, now you're gonna say like, I need a pre-approval. So we're gonna ask like couple of documents. First of all, your photo IDs, minimum 2 of photo ID, passport, driving license, MCP card, like that. Then another thing is that you need a employment letter that is mentioned like couple of things: minimum hours, what is your position, how many minimum hours, and how many wage you're gonna get for like 1 hour, right? According to that, then you need a like recent pay stub. Then if you are new, or you are a 2 year or 3 year or 5 year old in Canada, then it is good to have your T4s with you. So that is also very important for us. So those are the documents we need for the pre-approval. So now I'm gonna transfer to the Johnny. Johnny.
Okay, hello again. So, thank you guys for that. That was great. So yeah, so now we're gonna do an interactive game. So, can you buy a house with less than 20% down? Yes, well done. Yeah, so again, yeah, you can. 5% is the bare minimum, although there is a sliding scale now that we're on that subject. Anything under $500,000 is 5% minimum. Anything between 500,000 and I believe it changed to 1.2 million recently, is 10% on the amount over that. So if you, let's say, get a house at 600, it'll be 5% up to the first 500, and then 6% on the outstanding $100,000. And the only time 20% down minimum applies is for any home that's above 1.2 million, or if you're purchasing a home that will not be your primary residence. So exclusions will be cabins, for example. However, if you're buying an investment property, a 2-apartment or a 3-apartment home, then the minimum will be 20% down. Renting can be more expensive long term. Yes, absolutely. Again, the $30,000-$40,000 example I was telling you was actually my example, where I realized that over 4 years when I was renting, I gave $40,000 to my landlord with nothing to show for it. And that's part of the reason that prompted me to buy my first home. A pre-approval boosts your buying power. Yes, but the pre-approval, the buying power doesn't necessarily change because of the pre-approval. What happens is you actually know how much you can afford. Now, also, it does strengthen your offer. So yes and no. Home inspections are optional and not needed. Yes. So they are technically optional because you don't have to get one. But again, we always recommend them. The way we look at this is a home inspection will cost you about $800. We look at it from a point where you're spending $800 to potentially save you $20,000. The way we look at it is like an insurance policy. I've been paying for car insurance for 15 years, and I've never had a car accident. But I'm still paying for it because you never know. The home inspection is the same way, and that's the approach you should have going into this. You can buy a house in 2 weeks. No, not Newfoundland. That's correct. In Ontario and Alberta, probably, but not here because you need to give some time to the people in those back rooms to climb up their steps and ladders and find the paperwork. Also, fun fact, in St. John's, you won't really witness this, but if you're buying a house outside of the city, you might actually run into issues with the title and the survey and the deeds because there's no continuity of ownership. So we have actually had to do that where we had to go and knock on doors around a certain house to ask who lived there in 1965, between 1965 and 1970, who was the owner, who owned this place. And we actually had to get those people to sign stuff to give to the lawyers to make sure that the house could proceed. So you won't witness that in the city because it's tracked fairly well, but outside of the city, anything goes. So, okay. So outside of that, here's our next steps. So if you are interested in moving to the province or buying your first house, whatever it may be, we just need your email address, your phone number, and your full name. We will send you our first-time homebuyers guide, and then we can have a little conversation about exactly what you're looking for, what your timelines are, what stage you're at, and how we can proceed that way. Again, what you'll get is the guide, the documents from this presentation, and you get to begin your homeownership journey. So we always recommend to come to us as soon as you can. That doesn't mean you need to buy a house right now, but if you're planning to buy a house in a year, let's have a chat now. Let's come up with a plan. Let's go through the motions so that you know at each step what you need to do and how you need to do it, and we'll help you and guide you through it. Okay. And that is it. So here's our contact information. Mine, Stephen, Andrew. Vishnu's contact information will be sent by email, and Natasha's as well will be included there too. And that's it. There you go. I thought there was a thank you slide, but I guess not. Anyways, thank you guys. This was fun. And if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to reach out.